Uh, Eli Medrano works at the California Department of Human Resources, Office of Civil Rights as an equal employment opportunity program consultant and advises EEO officers, program coordinators, relevant stakeholders on the following programs: Limited Examination and Appointment Program, otherwise known as LEAP, Reasonable Accommodation, EEO, and Upward Mobility. Eli is an advocate of the equitable treatment of person with a disability. Eli, let's welcome Eli. He's our new liaison from CalHR to SDAC. So welcome, Eli. Are you on camera?
Bob. Hold on just a moment. It's so embarrassing right now.
No, don't worry about it. Take your time. Take your time. It happens to me quite often, so don't worry about it.
So Bobby, when Eli is ready, and this is his first time doing the presentation, so it's awesome to have him here. I actually did get a personal question for Eli. So when we're all ready, I would love to ask that.
Absolutely.
Well.
Let me, my apologies. Let me do this. Let me log off and log back in. Hopefully that will work, because it's so odd right now. It worked earlier, but it's not working right now. I will be right back.
Eli. No problem. Go ahead and do that. Yeah, while Eli is trying to get on, a little bit of history. CalHR has always been very generous by sending a liaison to SDAC, and our previous liaison, which was Jerry Gibbons, just retired. And Eli is now the new liaison from CalHR. So wherever Jerry is, I hope he's enjoying his retirement, and we will soon hear from Eli. Thank you.
Hello. So I'm back and with my camera on. So thank you so much for being patient and waiting for me. As I've said, the technical difficulty did not arise until Bobby called me, but it's working now. And so I do want to thank Bobby for that introduction and for leading this remarkable group of state professionals who are committed to making a difference, especially for persons with a disability. I'd like to thank Bobby as well for another stellar lineup of presenters. It's really great to hear from the leaders in state departments, because again, it always has to start from the top to truly make a department-wide difference. And the third thank you on a personal level, I do want to thank Bobby for spending time with me the last 2 weeks, for being generous with his time and engaging with me. As Bobby shared, for many years, Jerry Gibbons, a previous colleague of mine, was CalHR's main liaison to the Statewide Disability Advisory Council. Jerry retired as of 2 weeks ago, and so I am now your main contact person at CalHR's Office of Civil Rights, and for the Limited Examination and Appointment Program as well. I do want to provide a disclaimer that, I do want to ask for your patience and for your kindness, not just for those occasional technical difficulties in terms of camera not popping up, but also in regard to LEAP. I do not have as extensive of an experience with the Limited Examination and Appointment Program as Jerry did. However, I'm committed to being the statewide subject matter expert in terms of LEAP. And in the past 2 weeks, it's been an eventful past 2 weeks in regard to the Limited Examination and Appointment Program. And so I do appreciate those interactions I've had with stakeholders, with LEAP coordinators, in trying to figure out, processes and coming up with solutions in a collaborative way. And in fact, in one of my consultations that I had with a LEAP coordinator, I told her, I learn the best way by actually doing it, like riding a bike or learning how to swim. And so actually going through in a collaborative way, in terms of solutions, what solutions we could come up with. That was very helpful for me. So that disclaimer being said, I do want to share with you that my background in LEAP may not be as extensive, but it's there and I'm committed to learning it. But my background in terms of equal employment opportunity stretches for many years. I do have a background in reasonable accommodation as well, because prior to working at the California Department of Human Resources, I actually worked in the departments, both in the role of an EEO officer and a reasonable accommodation coordinator. So I'm very familiar with the EEO processes, with reasonable accommodation, and the other facets of the EEO office. In fact, on a quarterly basis, I lead a group of reasonable accommodation professionals in a roundtable when we talk about new information that may have come up, when we talk about solutions to reasonable accommodation issues. So I cherish that time that I spend with the reasonable accommodation professionals. And it's actually great that I see some familiar names in the chat. And that then segues to one thing that I do want to emphasize and I want to highlight, that collaborative relationship between the Disability Advisory Committee members and the Equal Employment Opportunity Officers. For the attendees that are present, if you don't mind, if you could kindly go to your reaction taskbar. So if you're a member of the Disability Advisory Committee or associated with groups who are advocates for persons with a disability, click on the heart emoji. And if you're an Equal Employment Opportunity Officer, whether you be an EEO officer, an EEO investigator, an analyst, or anyone who works in EEO office, click on the celebration icon, that confetti thing. So I just want to see what the breakdown in terms of our attendees are in terms of that particular context. So if you don't mind doing that. So I wanted to ask you to do that, to showcase these two facets in terms of the community that are present this morning, and to emphasize the collaborative nature that we must have, especially in talking about aspects of the EEO office, such as the limited examination and appointment program. And I'll use this part of my talk as well to segue into the LEAP numbers that Jerry Gibbons normally presents. So for the last quarter, the total number of LEAP appointments statewide was 101. And the total number of LEAP appointments for the last fiscal year was 316. And in terms of the LEAP exams that are available, there are currently 49 that are posted on CalLearns. And again, that's a remarkable number in terms of the exams, because I even remember years ago, there are far fewer than the number of exams that we have now for LEAP. So that's a great development. But it shouldn't stop there. And these numbers, these figures, highlights our responsibility, our partnership to work with each other. And what I do want to encourage as well is for the DAC members and for the EEO officers to look at these numbers and to use it in a way as a springboard to have a more holistic approach in terms of the temperature or the predicament or the situation for your persons with a disability, for the persons with a disability in your department. So, look at your discrimination complaint numbers, look at the upward mobility program and how your upward mobility program could help out the persons with a disability. And of course, the reasonable accommodation program in terms of evaluating, the existence of a policy, the presence of a reasonable accommodation coordinator who oversees the program. And on most occasions, it's your Equal Employment Opportunity Officer. And of course, there's a sense of diversity in terms of how the reasonable accommodation program is led. but on most occasions, it is the EEO officer. So that being said, I just wanted to quickly say hi and introduce myself. And I look forward to working with Bobby and the rest of the SDAC team and connecting with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eli. Just have a couple of clarifying questions, and feel free to respond if you feel like the question you just don't have the answers to, that's fine as well. I understand that today's your first day, so welcome again to SDAC. You briefly mentioned that there is some connection, or look at the numbers of the complaint history. You're talking about the DCTS system that's maintained by CalHR?
Yes, thank you, Bobby, for asking about the DCTS. So our office currently is comprised of 7 programs. The Equal Employment Opportunity. Let me pull up the web page so I don't miss any. I can recite them all, but I just want to make sure that I have them all. So the programs that I oversee are Equal Employment Opportunity, Reasonable Accommodation, Upward Mobility, and as of 2 weeks ago, the Limited Examination and Appointment Program. And I have colleagues who are subject matter experts who oversee the Bilingual Services Program, the Discrimination Complaint Tracking and Monitoring Program, and the Workforce Analysis Program. And coming soon, it is in the process of development, we will have the Equal Employment Opportunity Academy in our office as well. So the Discrimination Complaint Tracking System, and just in a quick nutshell, because it's we actually have another, as I've said, we have another manager that oversees that program. So it's essentially a statewide tracking system for the discrimination complaints from each department. And, we just published the discrimination complaint numbers for the year 2020. So that's available on our webpage, and I could attach the link to that report as well. So each department is basically required to enter their discrimination complaint numbers into the statewide system. This is a requirement for all state agencies. And this is, again, to 1, emphasize transparency, and 2, to emphasize accountability as well. And through the collection of data, CalHR, intends to use that data to generate reports that will be submitted to the governor's office, to the legislature, and to also have a meaningful evaluation of the data to help the departments out in terms of their EEO programs. So that, in a way, is a quick overview of the DCTS. Again, as I've said, I'll attach the link. I'll post it in the chat so individuals who may be interested in it could view it. And that's basically where the numbers are reflected.
And then there is another question that came in the chat. Previously, there were 42 available LEAP exams. Do you know what the numbers are, the newest LEAP exams that's added?
I checked yesterday, and well, there are 49, a total of 49 LEAP exams that are available.
And Susan just asked, is the DCTS information available online or publicly? And the answer is yes. And Eli can probably tell you where to find it.
I do want to clarify that for the discrimination complaint tracking system, the access to the system is mainly for equal employment opportunity officers and EEO investigators. We safeguard the process in terms of gaining access to it, because again, the information that they handle, that they enter, is confidential. And so they have to submit an access request form that must be approved by their director. They must read and sign and basically attest to the fact that they will comply with the security requirements. And prior to even getting access to the system, they must attend a comprehensive course on the system. And we've, CalHR designed it specifically that way to, again, ensure that only those individuals who are privy to the information have access to the system. And then, of course, the EEO officers by statute must report directly to the director of the department. And so the director, of course, has access to this information. And part of the motivation in terms of having the data available is for the EEO officers to have it as a tool so that they could report the figures to their directors. And I think earlier I said that, we envision, and I think Bobby, in our conversation too, we talked about a more holistic approach in terms of, persons with a disability and the status of persons with a disability in each department. It's important to note the parity rate. What is your percentage of representation for persons with a disability? But it's also very important to analyze what is the rate of discrimination complaints in your department as they pertain to disability. What is your retention rate? And how is your reasonable accommodation program being facilitated? So I think through a global evaluation of relevant programs and leveraging these relevant programs, not just for recruitment and hiring, but even more, especially for retention of persons with a disability and attracting even more population of persons with a disability to come to your department. So that is something that hopefully we could work on together. And again, I encourage the members of the Disability Advisory Committee to really sustain that collaborative relationship with your EEO officer. Your EEO officer is the subject matter expert in-house and in terms of EEO programs. And I hope that you have that profound and collaborative relationship with your EEO officer.
So Eli,
thank you, Eli. I appreciate the information, and I'm sure we'll have many more discussion about this in the future attendance that you'll be with, and we look forward to collaborating with CalHR on this issue and many others. So thank you for joining.
And Bobby, I promise that the explanation for DCTS will be more eloquent in the future. Okay. I wasn't prepared to talk about it, but yes.
Don't worry about that, Eli. You've done a great job. So thank you.